The flash popped like a gunshot in the crowded town square. Freezing Jacob in a moment, he never saw Kaminga's split-second grin beside Ethan Hargrove, the mayor's golden boy, their shoulders brushing under the relentless July sun of Elmwood, Ohio. By midnight, that photo had exploded across social media, twisted into a weapon that shredded his life before he could even hit refresh. Jacob's phone buzzed like a swarm of angry bees. Notifications piling up from strangers calling him everything from predator to freak. All because one blurry image suggested what his heart had only whispered to itself in the dead of night. He was 18, fresh out of high school, with dreams of escaping this suffocating Midwestern town for art school in Chicago, dreams that now felt like smoke slipping through his fingers. Jacob had always been the quiet kid, the one sketching in the margins of his notebooks, hiding behind oversized hoodies and a smile that never quite reached his eyes. Elmwood was the kind of place where everyone knew your business before you did, where the mayor's annual summer fair was less celebration and more ritual, a chance for folks to pretend their lives weren't fraying at the edges. Ethan Hargrove, with his easy charm and politician's polish, was the fair's unofficial king, tall, broad-shouldered, with that effortless athletic grace from captaining the football team. Jacob had volunteered at the booth for the local food pantry, a gig his mom pushed on him to build character. When Ethan wandered over, lemonade in hand, cracking jokes about the heat wave turning the cornfields into tinderboxes. "Hey, you the artist guy. Saw your mural at the library, killer stuff," Ethan had said, leaning in close enough that Jacob caught the faint scent of sunscreen and fresh-cut grass. It was nothing, really just small talk amid the cotton candy haze and laughter of kids on the Ferris wheel. But when the local paper's photographer corralled them for a youth involvement shot, Jacob's heart had stuttered. Ethan's arm slung casual around his shoulder, their faces inches apart in the frame, both lit with that rare, unguarded joy. Jacob posed, pulse racing, telling himself it was the adrenaline of the crowd, not the way Ethan's touch lingered a beat too long. That night, as fireworks cracked overhead, Jacob slipped away to the edge of the fairgrounds, sketching the burst of colors against the darkening sky. His phone stayed silent then, a brief mercy. Back home in the cramped duplex he shared with his mom, Saraha, weary nurse with calloused hands and a laugh like cracked porcelain, crashed without a second thought, dreaming of city lights and blank canvases. Morning shattered it all. He woke to his phone vibrating off the nightstand, screen glowing with alerts that turned his stomach to ice. The photo had gone viral, not in the local paper, but on Twitter, Instagram, every feed from Cleveland to Columbus. Hashtags like Elmwood scandal and mayor's son exposed twisted the image into something grotesque. Is this the mayor's boy with some creep? Protect our kids, read one post, racking up thousands of likes. Another, from a faceless account, caught in the act, disgusting. Time to out these groomers. Jacob's name was dragged into the mud, his face pixelated but unmistakable, linked to old yearbook photos and whispers from classmates who'd never spoken to him before. He scrolled, breath shallow, each comment a knife, faggot trying to climb the social ladder. Hope the mayor sues his ass. His hands trembled as he tapped out a frantic denial. It was just a photo. We were at the fair, but it drowned in the flood. By breakfast, his mom was at the door, eyes red-rimmed, phone clutched like a shield. Jacob, honey, what the hell is this? The hospital's blowing up, people asking if my son's. If you're. She trailed off, the word unspoken hanging heavy between them. He bolted to the bathroom, retching into the sink, the tile cold against his knees. This wasn't supposed to happen out here. Not now. Jacob had buried his questions deep, the confusing flutter in his chest whenever Ethan smiled his way during gym class, the late-night Google searches he'd erased from history. He was straight. Damn, Ida at least. That's what he'd convinced himself, parroting the jokes in the locker room to fit in. But the internet didn't care about his fragile lies. It feasted on assumptions, turning one innocent brush of shoulders into a manifesto of hate. School was out for summer, but Elmwood's grapevine was faster than any bell. By noon, texts from friends poured in. Dude, you're trending. LOL. But seriously, what were you thinking? His best friend, MIA, a sharp-tongued Latina girl with purple-streaked hair and a no-bullshit glare, called. Voice tight. Jay? Ignore the trolls. But Ethan's dad. The mayor's office just issued a statement. They are investigating community safety concerns. What the fuck? Jacob paced the living room, walls closing in like the judgmental stares at church picnics. He grabbed his sketchpad, pencils flying in frantic strokes, dark swirls of accusation. Ethan's face emerging from the chaos. Half smile, half shadow. Art had always been his escape, the one place where feelings didn't need labels. But even there, doubt crept in. Was the photo a fluke? Or had his subconscious posed them closer on purpose? The knock came at dusk sharp. Authoritative. His mom answered, voice pitching high. Mayor Hargrove. Eyes. Come in. Jacob froze in the kitchen doorway as the man himself strode through. All pressed suit and furrowed brow. Ethan trailing behind like a ghost. Eyes downcast. The mayor's handshake was limp. His words clipped. Son, we need to talk about that picture. It's causing unrest. Ethan's future, our family's reputation. Ethan finally looked up, gaze locking on Jacob's with a mix of apology and something deeper. Unspoken. It was nothing. Dad. Just a dumb photo. But his voice cracked. And in that fracture, Jacob saw his own turmoil mirrored the fear of being seen. Truly seen. As the Hargroves left, the weight settled heavier. Jacob sank onto the couch, head in hands, the first tears hot and unbidden. This wasn't just online venom. It was the unraveling of everything he'd pretended to be. In the quiet, a small voice whispered, maybe it's time to stop running. The days blurred into a haze of isolation. Jacob's world shrinking to the four walls of his room. Curtains drawn against the prying eyes of neighbors who now whispered behind cupped hands. He deleted his social accounts, but the screenshots lingered in group chats, forwarded like contraband. Mia became his lifeline, showing up with greasy diner fries and playlists of indie rock anthems that screamed rebellion. You're not the villain here, Jay, she'd say, sprawled on his floor, painting her nails electric blue. The internet's just a mob with Wi-Fi. Remember that time in sophomore year when we TP'd the principal's car? This is bigger, but you'll fight it the same way with your weird, beautiful brain. But fighting felt impossible when every mirror reflected a stranger. Jacob stared at his reflection that afternoon, tracing the faint stubble on his jaw, the hollows under his eyes from sleepless nights. 18 felt too young for this war. Too old to cry into his pillow. He thought of Ethan had he seen the posts. Did he regret that casual arm? That shared laugh? The mayor's investigation hung like a guillotine. Rumors swirling of police involvement, though nothing official landed. Elmwood thrived on half-truths, and Jacob was its latest feast. One evening, as cicadas hummed their endless dirge outside, his mom sat him down at the scarred oak table, her scrubs still wrinkled from a double shift. Sarah's face, lined from years of holding the fort alone since his dad bailed when Jacob was 6, softened with a pain he couldn't bear. Baby, I don't care what they say. You're my boy, smart, kind, the one who draws me flowers when I'm beat. But is there something you need to tell me about you and feelings? The question cracked him open. He choked on the words, tears spilling as he nodded, the confession tumbling out in fragments. The confusion since middle school. The crushes on boys he'd buried under layers of denial. The way Ethan's presence had stirred something undeniable. I think I'm gay, Mom. Or bi? Or I don't know. But that photo made them hate me for what I haven't even admitted to myself. She pulled him close, her embrace fierce and unwavering. The scent of hospital antiseptic mingling with the lavender of her shampoo. Then we'll figure it out together. No one's taking my son from Minute the mayor. Not the whole damn town. For the first time since the flash, Jacob breathed easier, the knot in his chest loosening just a fraction. Her acceptance was an anchor in the storm, a reminder that love didn't need hashtags or approvals. Emboldened, he reached out to Mia about starting a blogging anonymous space to reclaim his voice. Call it Snapshots of Truth, she suggested. Eyes sparkling. Post your art, your side. Let the world see the real you. That night, under the glow of his desk lamp, Jacob uploaded his first sketch, the fair photo reimagined. Not as scandal, but as fleeting joy, two boys on the cusp. Colors vibrant against a stormy sky. The caption, "One moment doesn't define you. It reveals you." Responses trickled in. Cautious at first, like from an unknown account. A DM saying, "This hit home. You're brave." But the trolls lurked too. Venom sharper now that he fought back. Pathetic attention grab. One sneered. Jacob's hands shook as he blocked them. But each barb chipped at his resolve. He wondered if Ethan had stumbled on it. If those hazel eyes, so like his own, had lingered on the page. A week later, the fair's aftermath peaked at the town council meeting. Broadcast live on the local cable channel. Jacob watched from his couch, heart pounding as Mayor Hargrove took the podium. Face stern under the fluorescent lights. "Our community values safety above all," he intoned, voice smooth as polished stone. "Recent events remind us to protect our youth from undue influences." The room murmured. Cameras flashing. And there was Ethan in the front row. Expression unreadable. Shoulders tense. Rage bubbled in Jacob's gut, not just at the implication, but at the erasure of Ethan's agency. His own. He grabbed his phone. Live tweeting from a burner account. Safety. Or just silencing the wrong kind of kid. Elmwood Truth. It gained traction. Retweets climbing as allies emerged from the woodwork. LGBTQ plus groups from Columbus. Even a journalist from the Cleveland Plain Dealer sniffing a story. By morning, his blog had visitors in the hundreds. Comments poured in. Stories of coming out in conservative towns. Sketches shared in solidarity. One email gutted him. "I'm 16. In a place like yours. Your art saved me tonight. Thank you." Tears blurred the screen as Jacob replied. Fingers flying. "You're not alone. Keep creating." But victory tasted bittersweet when a knock echoed at dawn, not the mayor this time, but two officers. Badges glinting. Routine follow-up on the online harassment reports. One said, notepad poised. Jacob's mom hovered protectively as they asked questions. Their tone neutral, but eyes probing. Any threats received? Interactions with Mr. Hargrove's son. He answered honestly. Voice steady despite the tremor in his legs. They left with nods and a pamphlet on cyberbullying. But the intrusion lingered. A reminder that visibility came with teeth. That afternoon, wandering the empty fairgrounds booths dismantled. Grass trampled. Jacob found a scrap of paper caught in the chain-link fence. A note, scrawled in familiar block letters. Meet me at the old mill bridge. 8 p.m. His pulse thundered. Was it a trap? A olive branch. As the sun dipped low, painting the Ohio River in fiery hues, Jacob made his choice. The bridge, rusted and whispering with wind, had been their childhood haunt. Skipping stones, sharing secrets too big for schoolyard whispers. If this was reckoning, he'd face it head-on. Ethan was there, silhouetted against the twilight, hands jammed in his pockets. "Jay?" he said, voice rough, stepping forward. No accusations, just raw relief in his eyes. "I saw your blog. It's everything." They talked for hours, words spilling like the river below Ethan's own confusion. The pressure of his father's shadow, the way that photo had cracked his carefully built walls. "I didn't know what it meant until it was everywhere," he admitted, gaze dropping. "But seeing you fight, it made me want it too." In that moment, under the stars emerging like hesitant promises, Jacob felt the first true shift, not just survival, but possibility. They didn't touch, didn't need to. The space between them hummed with unspoken understanding. As Ethan walked away, calling back, "We're in this together," Jacob lingered, sketching the bridge in his Minda structure, not of iron, but of fragile, forging bonds. Summer's heat clung like a fever dream, but Jacob's world cooled into tentative rhythms, mornings sketching by the window, afternoons at the library where the AC hummed like a lullaby, evenings plotting his escape to Chicago with Mia's relentless optimism. The blog grew, a digital diary of defiance, essays on the lies we tell ourselves, illustrations of fractured identities mending in unexpected light. Subscribers climbed into the thousands, drawing eyes from beyond Ohio's Bordersa Queer Youth Center in Pittsburgh, inviting him to guest post. A professor from the Art Institute emailing about portfolio reviews. For the first time, Jacob glimpsed a horizon wider than Elmwood steeples. Yet the undercurrent of fear never fully ebbed. At the grocery store, he'd catch sidelong glances, whispers trailing like smoke. "That's the boy from the photo." His mom fielded calls at work, concerned friends, offering prayers or veiled warnings. "Tell Sarah to keep him inside. Town's not safe for his kind." She hung up each time with a curse under her breath, then hugged him tighter, her fierce love a bulwark against the tide. Ethan became a secret constant, their meetings stolen at the mill bridge or hidden trails in the woods fringing town. No labels, no grand declarations, just two boys unraveling in the safety of half-light. Ethan confessed his cracks first, the summer camp crush on a counselor he'd dismissed as bromance. The way his dad's campaign speeches on family values twisted like barbed wire in his gut. "I thought I could pray it away," he said one dusk, skipping pebbles across the water, each plink echoing his doubt. "But you made it real. Scary, but real." Jacob shared in turn, voice gaining strength with each vulnerability laid bare. "I used to draw these perfect straight-line lives, girl next door, picket fence. But my lines always curved back to guys like you." Laughter broke the tension then, tentative and true, as they raced fireflies across the meadow, the world shrinking to glowing specks and shared breaths. In those pockets of time, Jacob felt seen not as scandal or symptom, but as himself, artist, dreamer, quietly brave. But Elmwood's shadows lengthened. The mayor announced his re-election bid at a rally in the park, banners flapping like accusations. Ethan positioned front and center as the All-American poster child. Jacob watched from the crowd's edge, heart twisting as Ethan waved mechanically, smile pasted on. That night, their bridge meeting turned stormy, Ethan arriving flushed, words tumbling. "Dad's team wants me to do an interview. Set the record straight. They think if I say it was a joke, it'll die down." His fists clenched, knuckles white. "But lying, it feels like dying inside." Jacob reached out, hesitating before clasping Ethan's shoulder, the same touch from the photo, now electric with intent. "Then don't. Tell your truth, whatever it costs." The words hung heavy, a challenge and a plea. Ethan pulled away, eyes stormy. Easy for you, Yuri, already out there. Fighting. I lose everything. Dad's respect. The scholarship. This town. Silence stretched, taut as the river's current, until Ethan sighed, deflating. I need time. Jay. God. I hate needing time. The rejection stung, a fresh wound amid healing scars. But Jacob nodded, swallowing the ache. Take it. I'll be here. Alone on the bridge after. He etched their initials into the rail with a key J plus E, intertwined like vines, then scratched them out, the metal protesting softly. Back home, he channeled the hurt into canvas, a portrait of Ethan. Half in light, half in shadow. Eyes searching. Uploading it to the blog with the caption, Waiting in the Gray. He watched notifications bloom, not just support, but questions. How do you hold on when they pull away? Answers came from stranger stories, weaving a tapestry of resilience. A trans man from Texas wrote of losing his job, but gaining family in online forums. A lesbian couple from rural Kentucky shared their wedding photo. Captioned, "We made it through the fire." Jacob replied to each, his own loneliness easing in the echo of shared struggles. Mia noticed the shift, dragging him to a dive bar on the outskirts for milkshakes and karaoke. "You're glowing. Weirdo," she teased, belting out a off-key Born This Way. For an hour, under neon buzz, Jacob sang along, voice cracking but free. September crept in on cooler winds, leaves turning amber like warnings. School loomed senior year for Ethan. Community college for Jacob. Paths diverging yet tethered. The mayor's campaign ramped up. Attack ads veiled but vicious, hinting at moral threats without naming names. Jacob's blog caught the eye of a local reporter, Lena Voss, a no-nonsense woman in her 40s with a nose for injustice. She met him at the diner. Notepad ready. "Kid, your story's bigger than Elmwood. Want to go on record?" Fear clawed his throat, but memories of Ethan's hesitation fueled him. Yes, all of it. The article dropped mid-month. Elmwood's viral victim. One teen stand against small-town bigotry. Quotes from Jacob Raw. Unfiltered detailed the photo's innocence, the hate's cruelty, his journey towards self-acceptance. Reactions split the town, boycotts at the pantry where he'd volunteered, but also quiet coffees from allies. A rainbow flag fluttering defiantly from the library window. Ethan texted that night, first time since the bridge. Saw the piece. "Proud of you. Can we talk?" They met under a harvest moon, the air crisp with falling leaves. Ethan enveloped him in a hug, fierce and lingering. "I told my mom. Not Dad. But it's a start." Tears pricked Jacob's eyes as they sat on the riverbank, shoulders touching now without apology. "You're my start," Ethan murmured. And in that whisper, the world righted itself, if only for a night. As autumn deepened, Jacob's portfolio took shape, sketches born of this tumult. Colors bolder, lines unafraid. Applications to Chicago whispered acceptance. A lifeline out. But leaving meant more than geography. It meant carrying Elmwood's lessons, the pain and the people, into whatever came next. One evening, sketching by lamplight, he realized the photo hadn't destroyed him. It had illuminated him, flaws and fire alike. Winter's grip tightened Elmwood like a vice. Snow blanketing the streets in deceptive purity, muffling the ugliness beneath. Jacob's days filled with routine shifts at the bookstore, where dog-eared novels offered escape. Late nights refining his art for the looming deadlines. The article's ripple effects lingered, some doors slammed shut, like the church youth group barring him. But others creaked, Opina local theater troupe inviting him to design sets for their production of Angels in America. The director citing his authentic voice. Ethan's progress stuttered, a dance of 2 steps forward, 1 back. His mom's quiet support manifested in care packages, homemade cookies with notes, "For my brave boy," but the mayor's household simmered with unspoken tensions. Ethan vented during their clandestine walks, breath fogging the air. "Dad's prepping me for speeches. All traditional values." I nod along, but inside, it's screaming. One night, under a sky heavy with flurries, he kissed Jacob, tentative, then urgent, snowflakes melting on their lashes. It was revelation and risk, a spark in the cold that warmed Jacob to his core. "I choose this," Ethan whispered against his lips. "Us." But choices had consequences. Whispers reached the Hargrove dinner table. The mayor's advisor caught wind of youthful experimentation, urging damage control. Ethan faced an ultimatum over Thanksgiving turkey: "Focus on your future, son. Distractions like that boy will derail you." He stormed out, seeking Jacob at the duplex, where Sarah welcomed him with hot cocoa and no questions. They huddled in Jacob's room, the space too small for their growing fears. "I'm applying to schools out of state," Ethan said, voice resolute. "Somewhere we can breathe." Jacob's heart soared and sank, joy at the dream of togetherness, dread at the unraveling Hargrove empire. His own acceptance letter arrived in December. Crisp envelope bearing the Art Institute seal, full scholarship, deferred enrollment for fall. He danced around the kitchen with his mom, her laughter a rare melody, before the reality settled, leaving Mint confronting the town one last time. The new year dawned with a bang: the mayor's campaign gala, black tie affair at the community center, tickets triple priced for loyal supporters. Ethan begged Jacob to come as his +1, a bold fuck you to the establishment. Show them we're not ashamed. Dressed in a borrowed suit that hung loose on his frame, Jacob arrived on Ethan's arm, the room's chatter dying as heads turned. Flashbulbs popped like distant thunder. The same photographer from the fair grinning wolfishly. Mayor Hargrove's face purpled across the hall, but he plastered on a smile, toasting unity with a champagne flute that trembled. They danced awkward at first, then fluid, hands clasped under crystal chandeliers. Eyes followed, judgment silent but searing. Yet in that whirl, Jacob felt invincible. A cluster of elders muttered, but younger faces watched with curiosity. One girl slipping him a card, starting a GSA at school. "Join us." The night peaked in confrontation, the mayor cornering Ethan in a side room. Voice a hiss, "What the hell are you doing? This ends now." Ethan stood tall, chin lifted. "No, Dad. This is who I am. And Jacob, he's family." The fallout crashed like a wave. By morning, headlines screamed, "Mayor's son comes out at gala, scandal rocks re-election bid." Social media reignited. But the tide shifted, supporters rallying with "Love is Local." Protesters gathering at City Hall with signs, "Elmwood for all." Jacob's blog surged. Guest posts from Ethan detailing his path, from closet to spotlight, owning my story. Yet victory's afterglow faded fast. The mayor, cornered, lashed out, private investigators digging into Jacob's past, dredging up his dad's abandonment as unstable home environment. Anonymous letters arrived at Sarah's work: "Keep your deviant son away, or else." Fear coiled tight. Jacob sleeping with a bat by his bed. Mia teaching him self-defense in the backyard, her punches fierce lessons in standing ground. Ethan bore the brunt, scholarship whispers revoked, friends ghosting, his father's cold shoulder a daily frost. They met less. Stolen moments fraught with urgency. "I love you," Ethan said one sleet-lashed afternoon in the bookstore's back room, amid stacks of forgotten tomes. Jacob echoed it, the words a vow against the chill. But love, he learned, demanded sacrifice. When Ethan's acceptance to NYU arrived far from Chicago's promise, Jacob urged him, "Go." Build your life. I'll meet you in the middle someday. Spring thawed the ground, but not their resolve. Jacob's final project for the Institute, a mural for the theater. Bridges unburned. Depicting Elmwood's divides, rivers crossed by hands of all colors. Faces like his and Ethan's woven in. The unveiling drew crowds. Applause mingling with jeers. But the mayor was absent. His poll numbers tanking. In the chaos, a hand found Jacob S. Ethan's. Steady. We're crossing. J. Together. Graduation came in caps and gowns. The auditorium electric with futures unfolding. Valedictorian Ethan spoke last. Voice steady. We've learned that true community isn't built on silence, but on stories shared messy. Brave. Unapologetic. Eyes met across the sea of hats, Jacob's brimming with pride. As diplomas exchanged hands, Jacob felt the earth's tilt, his own arc bending toward light. Packing for Chicago. Boxes labeled with sketches and memories. Sarah hugged him at the door. You changed this town, kiddo. And it changed you for the better. The drive out. Windows down. Wind whipping his hair. Jacob glanced back at Elmwood fading in the rear view, not a prison, but a proving ground. Ahead, the city skyline beckoned. Canvas vast and waiting. Chicago hit like a fever. Skyscrapers piercing the summer sky. Streets pulsing with a rhythm that drowned Elmwood's echoes. Jacob's dorm room in the Loop overlooked Lake Michigan. Waves crashing like applause for his new chapter. Classes blurred into wonderlife, drawing where bodies twisted without shame. Critiques that honed his edges without breaking them. He roomed with Theo, a non-binary sculptor from Detroit with a buzz cut and a laugh that boomed, who pinned pride flags to the walls and dragged Jacob to Boys Town bars for mocktails and people watching. Freedom tasted sharp. Unfiltered. No stares on the L train when he held Theo's hand platonically. No whispers at coffee shops when he sketched couples of every stripe. Yet nights brought ghost dreams of Ethan's kiss melting into snow. Waking with a hollow ache. Texts bridged the miles, Ethan's NYU grind. Late-night rants about pretentious profs. Photos of Manhattan's chaos. Miss your sketches. One read. Attached a blurry selfie from a rooftop party. Jacob replied with his own, a quick portrait of Ethan amid city lights. Captioned, Our Skyline. The Institute's queer affinity group became sanctuary. Spectrum. Meetings in a sunlit lounge where stories unfurled like banners. At his first share, voice quivering, Jacob recounted the photo. The firestorm. Ethan's hand in his at graduation. It broke me open, he said. But that's where the art lives now. Nods rippled around the circle. A burly jock type named Riley sharing his own closet crack, kicked out at 17. Couch surfing to survive. Your story. It's ammo for us all. Inspired. Jacob launched Framed, a zine series digital and print spotlighting queer narratives from small towns. Submissions flooded, a farmer's son from Iowa on barn dances and hidden notes. A girl from Appalachia coding apps to map safe spaces. He illustrated each. Lines fluid with empathy born of his scars. The first issue sold out at a campus fair. Buyers lingering to chat. One elder prof pressing a card. Gallery show downtown. Think exhibit. Elmwood tugged sporadically, a call from Mia. Voice bubbly. Town's changing. J. New mayor pro LGBTQ councilwoman. Your mural. It's the visitor center now. Pride swelled. Tempered by news of the old mayor's defeat. Whispers of his retreat to a consulting firm. Legacy tarnished. Ethan confirmed over video. Dads. Processing. Mom sends her love. And me. I'm out. Loud. Marching in the village parade next month. Jacob flew back for Pride that June. The airport's hum a portal to home. Elmwood streets bloomed with rainbows, flags on porches. afloat in the revamped fair with his artwork emblazoned. The crowd parted as he walked with Ethan, hands linked openly, cheers erupting like summer storms. Sarah beamed from the sidelines, arm around Mia, who hooped loudest. At the stage, Ethan pulled him up for a speech impromptu. Heartsick with joy. "This town tried to bury us," Ethan said, microphone hot in his grip. "But we rose. With love like Jacob's. How could we not?" The kiss that followed under confetti rain, cameras flashing benevolent, now sealed it. A full circle from that fateful photo. Back in Chicago, buzz followed, invites to panels. A TEDx slot on digital shadows, reclaiming queer visibility. Jacob prepped in coffee-fueled marathons. Theo play-acting hecklers to toughen his delivery. Fall brought crossroads. Ethan's internship at a queer rights nonprofit pulled him west for conferences. Jacob's exhibit. Exposed frames. Open to acclaim galleries lauding the raw, emotional depth of his Elmwood series. Reviewers noted the evolution, early works jagged with pain, later ones layered with grace. At the opening, champagne flute in hand, Jacob mingled with collectors, but his eyes sought Ethan in the crowd arriving late. Windswept from O'Hare, grin splitting wide. They stole away to the lakeshore after, skyline twinkling like a promise kept. "Proud of you," Ethan murmured, head on Jacob's shoulder, waves lapping soft. "Thesusit's the real art." Doubts flickered then. The old fear, distance, diverging dreams. What if life pulls us apart? Jacob voiced. Vulnerability raw. Ethan turned, eyes fierce. Then we bridge it. Like always. Winter holidays split them. Jacob in Elmwood, hosting a zine workshop at the library. Teens wide-eyed with their own sketches. Ethan in New York. Family dinners strained but healing. Video calls bridged the gap. Laughter echoing across screens. Spring semester ramped up. Jacob's thesis on narrative as resistance. Weaving his story with others. A collaboration with Relaya joint installation at a queer art fest drew crowds. Critics calling it a beacon for the marginalized. By summer's cusp, Ethan proposed a road trip NYC to Chicago. Detours through Rust Belt towns for zine drops. They packed a beat-up van. Playlists blasting. Highways unspooling like veins. Stops blurred. A diner in Pennsylvania where locals shared coming-out tales over pie. A mural jam in Detroit. Spray cans hissing under streetlights. In each, Jacob saw his reflection multiplied, resilience etched in faces weathered but unbroken. One night in a motel off I-80. Rain drumming the roof. Ethan traced Jacob's tattoos, new ink of intertwined bridges on his forearm. "You're my constant," he said, voice thick. Jacob pulled him close, hearts sinking in the storm. "And you're mine. No photo. No scandal, just this." Returning to the city, sated and sun-kissed, Jacob hung their Polaroids on the dorm wall, candid shots of laughter. Landscapes of love. The journey hadn't erased the past. It had repainted it. Colors vivid with purpose. As sophomore year loomed, syllabus in hand, Jacob felt rooted not in Elmwood's soil, but in the fertile ground of who he'd become. Sophomore year unfolded like a sketchbook half-filled. Pages promising, yet penciled in tentative lines. Jacob's routine solidified. Dawn runs along the lakefront, where gulls wheeled like free thoughts. Afternoons in the studio. Charcoal dusting his jeans as forms emerged from blankness. Framed, evolved into a podcast. Episodes recorded in a makeshift booth. Theo handling sound. Riley guesting on Art as Armor. Listeners tuned in from coasts to heartland. Emails pinging with gratitude. Your voice got me through family dinner. Ethan's visits wove through. Weekends stolen from syllabi and shifts. They'd wander Wicker Park. Galleries and graffiti a shared language. Or hole up in Jacob's now single room. Takeout containers littering the floor amid deep talks. Dad called. Ethan shared one crisp October evening. Curled on the futon. Apologized sort of. Said he's learning. Jacob squeezed his hand. The gesture automatic now. That's miles from the gala glare. Laughter followed. But undercurrents stirred Ethan's growing restlessness with advocacy's grind. Whispers of grad school abroad. Challenges crept in subtly. A stalkerish fan fixated on the podcast. DMs veering from praise to possession, your mind to save. Jacob from that Hargrove poison. Theo flagged it. Campus security looping in. But the intrusion chilled. Echoing Elmwood's old phantoms. Jacob doubled down on boundaries. Therapy sessions unpacking the trigger. It's not the hate. It's the loss of control. His counselor, a soft-spoken dyke named Marisol, nodded. You've built a life from exposure. Now, guard the frame. Thanksgiving pulled him east. Chicago's gray yielding to Elmwood's frost-kissed charm. The town had softened rainbow crosswalks at main intersections. A youth center bearing his mural's name. Sarah's duplex smelled of turkey and cinnamon. Mia crashing the meal with her new girlfriend. A poet with ink-stained fingers. You're famous now? Jay. Mia teased. Clinking glasses. But don't forget us Hicks. Ethan joined via video. His mom's face popping in. Tell that boy to visit properly. Back in the Midwest chill. Jacob led a framed workshop at the center. Teens sketching their truths, a non-binary kid with a buzz cut mirroring his old self. Shyly sharing a portrait of absent parents. This place. It's because of you. The director said after. Eyes misty. Pride bloomed. But so did perspective. Elmwood wasn't relic. It was root. Nourishing even from afar. New Year's brought pivot. Ethan's nonprofit offered a fellowship in London 6 months researching global queer rights. Over New Year's fireworks on Navy Pier. He broached it. Words careful. It's huge. Jay. But leaving you. Jacob's chest tightened. Wind whipping cold. Go. Thesusits stronger than oceans. The kiss that followed tasted of salt and certainty. But doubt seeded was strength enough. Separation tested it. Ethan's flight landed amid Brexit headlines. Jacob tracking from his phone. Heard a knot. Calls bridge time zones. Fragmented by static. Tubes mad today reminds me of the L. Letters followed. Ethan's script looping elegant. Recounting protests in Soho. Teas with activists who'd toppled regimes. Jacob replied with packages sketches of London imagined. Zine issues hot off press. Solo. Jacob thrived and faltered. A solo show at a Bucktown space. Intersections. Sold out opening night, collectors snapping up pieces like bridge echoes. A diptych of Elmwood and Chicago skylines merging. Critics raved. Harkness captures the queer diaspora with unflinching tenderness. But acclaim amplified isolation. Parties felt hollow without Ethan's quips. Runs echoed with unspoken questions. Spring break. He flew to Heathrow. Jet-lagged wonder unfolding. London buzz Thames glittering under Big Ben. Markets hawking samosas and stories. Ethan met him at a pub in Camden. Grin boyish amid the bustle. They wandered, Tate Modern's vast halls. Where Jacob sketched Rothko's voids. Ethan narrating histories. Nights in Ethan's flat. Curry scented and cramped. Deep in them talks of forever amid pillow forts. Bodies mapping familiar territories with renewed hunger. But cracks showed. I love the work. Ethan confessed over tea in a rainy Hampstead garden. But it's lonely without you. Jacob nodded. Vulnerability mirroring. Same. My art's exploding. But it's missing your color. They vowed intentionality monthly visits. Joint projects. Back in Chicago. Jacob channeled it into transatlantic lines. A series of collaborative postcards, his illustrations. Ethan's words. Mailed to supporters. Summer internships pulled directions. Jacob at a nonprofit gallery curating queer Midwest. Amplifying voices like his own. Interviews piled NPR's spot on digital activism. A profile in Out magazine tracing from viral victim to visionary. He demurred the hero label. I'm just one frame in a bigger reel. Fall semester crested with reunion. Ethan stateside for a conference. Crashing Jacob's dorm for a week. They volunteered at Chicago Pride. Marching arm in arm. Signs reading, Love Without Borders. The crowd's roar drowned old fears. Confetti sticking to sweat-slick skin. That night. Rooftop under stars. Ethan knelt not proposal, but promise, a keychain etched our bridge. Token of returns. As junior year dawned. Leaves turning gold. Jacob felt equilibrium not flawless, but forged. The photo that started it all. Now a tattoo on his wrist. Faded but foundational. Reminder that exposure births not just pain, but profound light. Junior year sharpened edges. Ambitions crystallizing like frost on the lake. Jacob's thesis evolved into a multimedia exhibit. Revealed agendas. Blending video testimonials with interactive installations, viewers tracing their own exposure moments on touchscreens. Faculty raved. One mentor pulling him aside. This isn't student work. It's gallery ready. Aim higher. Applications to residencies pinged acceptances, a summer in Provincetown. Another in Berlin. Ethan's London stint extended renewed fellowship. Deeper dives into policy. Their rhythm adapted. Dawn calls for Jacob. Midnight for Ethan. Voices husky with fatigue, but laced with love. Read your latest zine. Ethan texted once. Screenshot of a marked-up page. That piece on small-town ghosts. Nailed it. Jacob smiled at his screen. Firing back a voice note. Singing a snippet of their old road trip playlist. Challenges mounted. Backlash resurfaced. A conservative outlet dredging the Elmwood scandal. Op-ed branding Jacob, woke opportunist profiting from perversion. Trolls swarmed socials. Old hashtags revived. Theo rallied, block and build. Babe. But the hit landed. Self-doubt whispering during late-night edits. Therapy helped unpack. It's not about them. It's your worth unbound. To counter, Jacob organized echo chambers. A campus symposium on queer media myths. Panels buzzed activists from GLAAD. A trans journalist dismantling tropes. Ethan beamed in virtually. Keynote on global frames, storytelling across borders. Q&A sparked fire, a student asking, how do you forgive the town that hated you? Jacob paused. Then, forgiveness isn't absolution. It's freedom. Elmwood taught me to frame my own narrative. Thanksgiving in Elmwood felt like homecoming. The duplex expanded. Mia, subletting the spare room. Her poetry slams filling evenings. Sarah's promotion to charge nurse brought upgrades, a real dining table. Walls lined with Jacob's prints. At the youth center, he judged an art contest. Kids' works echoing his early scratches, raw hope in crayon strokes. One girl, 14 with braids and braces, shyly gifted him her piece, two figures bridging a chasm. Like you and your boyfriend, she said. Jacob hugged her. Throat tight, legacy in miniature. Ethan arrived Christmas Eve. Flight delayed by blizzards. But his knock brought cheer. Family dinner stretched late. Sarah grilling him on London fog. Mia debating policy over pie. New Year's. They snuck to the Mill Bridge. Now strung with solar lights by the center. Snow soft underfoot. Remember our first talk here? Ethan asked. Breath clouding. Jacob nodded. Pulling him close. Lies we told ourselves. Fireworks popped distant. Their kiss sinking with bursts of renewal. Spring brought bloom and bruise. Jacob's exhibit previewed to acclaim. But a grant rejection stung. Budget cuts, citing niche appeal. Doubts flared. Was queer art art? Or activism in disguise? Riley's Install collab salvaged it. Their joint show at a Logan Square warehouse, drawing diverse crowd families. Elders. Tourists snapping pics. Sales funded a micro-grant for student creators. Jacob's quiet rebellion. Ethan's return loomed fellowship wrapping. Job offer stateside. Chicago. He teased over video. Skyline behind him, Thames flipped. Jacob's heart leaped. Always. But subtext simmered Ethan's wanderlust. Jacob's rooting. They navigated with check-ins. No topic taboo. Summer in Provincetown, dunes and drag shows. A queer mecca where anonymity lifted. Jacob sketched en plein air. Canvases capturing salt-kissed lovers. Goals and freefall. Locals mentored a painter with silver hair, sharing war stories from Stonewall Shadow. Your work sings survival, she said over clam chowder. Letters from Ethan arrived weekly. Postmarked Manhattan, dreams of co-op galleries. Hints of rings unspoken. Fall senior year crested like a wave. Thesis, defense nailed. Committee weeping at the emotional arc. Graduation invites went out family. Theo. Riley. Even Elmwood allies. Ethan flew in early. Suit sharp for the ceremony. Caps airborne. Jacob's name called. He crossed stage to cheers. Diploma heavy with promise. Post-ceremony brunch. Ethan clinked glasses to frames unbroken. That evening. Lakeside walk. He dropped to one nearing simple. Silver band engraved, one photo. Infinite us. Tears blurred Jacob's yes. Embrace fierce against the dusk. Wedding planning bridged coast small affair in Elmwood. Summer next. Invites, blended worlds, Sarah beaming. Mia officiating with flair. Mayor's wife sending regrets laced with warmth. Vows under the bridge. Now a pavilion. You revealed me. Jacob said. Ethan's hand in his. And I'll frame you always. Honeymoon in Provincetown. Dunes whispering futures. Back. Jacob's first solo gallery in Chicago sold out. Reviews glowing. A masterclass in vulnerability. Ethan started at a local firm. Nights brainstorming zine expansions. Years layered like paint. A house in Wicker Park. Walls evolving with art. Adoptions considered. Theo godparent. Elmwood visits ritual pride speeches. Center expansions. The photo. Framed on mantle. Not scar but spark. At 30. Jacob reflected in a TED Talk. One click changed everything and nothing. It taught me, we're all exposures waiting for light. Applause thundered. Ethan in front row. Eyes shining. Life. He knew. Was the ultimate canvas messy. Meaningful. Theirs. Decades turn brought depth. Lines etched not just in art, but in souls weathered wise. Jacob's studio in their sunlit Wicker Park row house hummed constant easels angled to catch north light. Shelves groaning with zines evolved into books, framed lives. A bestseller blending memoir and manifesto. Translated to 6 languages. Galleries clamored. But he curated 2 Midwest mirrors, touring museums. Amplifying rural queer voices long silenced. Ethan climbed advocacy ladders. Director at a Chicago nonprofit. Suits traded for hoodies at rallies. Their marriage. A quiet revolution. Model balance. Date nights at jazz dives. Weekends hiking the gorge where Elmwood's river met larger flows. No kids yet debates over fostering lingered, but Theo's twins called them Uncle J's. Chaotic sleepovers filling the house with crayon chaos. Elmwood pulled periodic. A compass north. Sarah's retirement party, duplex sold. Her in a cozy bungalow with garden plots bursting color. You gave me grandkids and stories. She joked. Toasting Jacob's latest exhibit. Mia. Now published poet. Read at the Eventoads to Bridges built. The town. Transformed. Hosted annual Exposure Fest. Jacob's keynote: a tradition. From scandal to spotlight. We choose the light. Challenges persisted. Evolved. A 2035 cyber harassment wave targeted queer creators. Jacob testified in D.C. Voice steady. The internet's mirror: crack it with truth. Ethan lobbied beside. Their tag team of force. Back home. Burnout crept. Jacob's brushes idle weeks. Dreams tangled in what-ifs. Therapy revisited. Marisol retired. Her successor probing. What if success is the new closet? Ethan listened nights. No fixes. Just presence. Paint the ache. Love. He died a series. Veiled victories. Abstracts of joy shadowed doubt. Selling to a MoMA affiliate. Critics hailed Harkness at his peak. But the real win, reclaiming rest. Sabbatical sketching in Tuscany. Ethan joining for gelato-fueled rambles. 40s dawned reflective. Jacob mentored at the Institute. Prodigies echoing his fire: a trans teen from Gary. Portfolio fierce. You? She asked. He laughed. One photo. Rest is rewrite. Ethan. Gray threading temples. Proposed renewals: yearly vows refreshed over coffee. Rings polished with promise. Crisis hit mid-decade. Ethan's diagnosis: prostate. Early but insistent. Scans. Treatments blurred months. Jacob curating bedside sketches of healing hands. Playlists of their youth. We beat scandals. Ethan quipped. Chemo fogged. This. Just another frame. Remission came spring. Celebrations quiet. Bridge picnic in Elmwood. Stars witnessing. By 50. Legacies solidified. Jacob's archive donated to a queer history museum. Harkness wing unveiling tearful. Ethan retired to consulting. Their home: a hub, foster placements rotating. 3 siblings finding roots. Families: the art we live. Jacob told reporters. Kids tugging hems. 60th loomed gentle. Grandkids: Theo's eldest. Art major visited studios. Eyes wide. Sarah. 90s spry. Pinned photos. That first flash. Wedding kiss. Now great-grand chaos. Full circle. She whispered. On their anniversary. Mill Bridge restored. Plaque reading, Jacob and Ethan Harkness. Builders of us, they sat. Hands veined but linked. One photo. Jacob murmured. Sunset gilding. Ethan smiled, and a lifetime developed. In Twilight's grace. Jacob sketched final lines: not end, but continuum. Life's reel spun on. Exposure's infinite. Love the enduring light.